Thanks everyone for coming tonight for the second meeting of our Phase 1 fire station. I'd like to call the Town Property Committee meeting into order at 6 p.m. For roll call, Caitlin Johnson, Keelan Smith, Pierre Boyer, part of the Town Property Committee. For tonight, again, as far as Phase 1, it's an information and listening session. Purpose is to share the same data the Town Properties Committee has been reviewing related to fire department operations and service demand to make sure residents understand what information is being looked at before any future decisions are discussed. No votes will be taken tonight, no sites will be selected, no costs or funding decisions will be made. This meeting is just about transparency, education, and making sure we're starting from a shared understanding of the facts. And again, would like to thank Chief Duddy for helping us gather a lot of the information that we'll be reviewing tonight. So from there, we'll get started. From Plympton for current dispatch. So again, just to understand how 911 calls are answered, there's a regional all-call and communication center in Duxbury that Plympton and other surrounding towns use in order to dispatch calls out to the residents. And they're responsible for receiving the emergency calls, dispatching Plympton fire and EMS units, tracking unit availability, and dispatching mutual aid when authorized. Typically, Plympton units are dispatched first to Plympton emergencies. Mutual aid from surrounding towns is available, but in many situations it's not automatically sent. A member of the Plympton Fire Department must request mutual aid after a call is received or once personnel are responding on a scene. And then mutual aid is operating through regional agreements and run cards that allows departments to help one another when additional resources are needed. So just at a high level, wanted to make sure everyone understood how calls come in when there is a call, how that actually works before the fire department and ES folks come out to the residents to provide their services. Going into the fire department staffing, so there's six full-time members, a fire chief, administrative, fire prevention captain, 4 firefighter paramedics. The chief and captain work a traditional 5-day work week, and fire paramedics work rotating 24-hour shifts. The station is staffed 24 hours, 365 days a year. Minimum staffing is 2 at all time, at least 1 paramedic and 1 EMT firefighter. When additional people are needed, on-call members will respond from home. Typical staffing levels for daytime and evening on weekdays is 3 to 4 personnel, a chief or captain, 1 paramedic, EMT or second paramedic. Overnight, 2 personnel on weeknights, and we do have impact shifts that are in place. Monday to Thursdays is 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. Fridays is 3 p.m. to 7 a.m. Weekends is 3 personnel, additional coverage of 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. Usually 3 personnel on weekends are staying overnight. And we do have impact shifts on weekends as well, where Saturdays is 24 hours and Sundays is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Part-time and on-call support, we have 5 part-time employees working up to 24 hours per week, approximately 20 members certified to work shifts, EMT and or paramedic plus firefighters. 7 firefighters are certified for fire response only, and 4 probationary firefighters are awaiting academy training at any given time, and we have approximately 35 on-call firefighters. Moving into the call volume. So we were able to gather the call volume over the last 10 years. But we kept it to 2021 to 24. That's our period of time that we're doing the analysis from, primarily right after COVID. I think when you look at the numbers have spiked up right after COVID and continue to go up, although at a little bit less of a percentage-wise on an annual basis. So if you can look at the numbers, 2021, we've had 750, in 2024, 808. So you can see a spike up anywhere between 3% and 4% over the last couple of years. When you break down the types of calls, you can see it's pretty consistent, with the exception of 2021. There's a little bit of an anomaly there, lower EMS and other numbers, but primarily around 12 fires a year. EMS, say mid 500s, and Other is 230. Other is like car accidents, alarms, false alarms, those type of things like that. And then mutual aid, Plympton gives mutual aid to other surrounding communities as well as receives. And that breakdown is, you can see that's gone up quite a bit from 2021, from 89 to 172. And we give anywhere between 10 and 20 where we're receiving mutual aid from other towns. So we've gone from about 14% of our annual calls to 22.5% of our annual calls from a mutual aid perspective. And again, just to take away, the data represents showing modest growth in emergency responses over the last 4 years, as well as mutual aid. And these are the types of volumes that we need to take into consideration when determining what the right solution is for the town. Let me just bring up this document here. So this is a heat map of all the calls from April 6, 2022 to December 23, 2025. You can see it's pretty widespread over the town with a few little clusters here and there. Primarily at Cisco and Center and Palmer Street. There's a lot of accidents there. It's another kind of hot spot. And just kind of looking into those numbers, you can kind of tell that again it's pretty much spread throughout the town. No single neighborhood or section of town accounts for a dominant share of activity. There's small little relative clusters, like I said, around Cisco and 165 County Road. And there's no distinguishable pattern around any residential areas within the town where most calls would come in on an annual basis. And we break it down, and we took another look at the demographics, right? So one of the things let me just bring this up first. We looked at the population over the next 25 years from a state of Massachusetts projections, and we looked at basically, I think we have all of the towns in Massachusetts, but obviously we're focusing on Plympton, so you can see we're around 29, 28 now. Massachusetts is projecting to go down to 2483 by 2050. That being said, it doesn't necessarily, just because population goes down, doesn't mean fire EMS volumes may go down. It's really based off of demographics, right? The older we get, the more EMS calls we're going to need as a population. And that's what we're looking at here. So essentially 2025, we have a population at 2928. The basis of the age we're looking at is 60 plus from an EMS call. Most as you get to that age, we suspect there's more EMS calls around that age-related calls. So we have age 60 is 30% of the population, and then 2050 projection is 31.4, a little bit higher, but you can see the 80 plus jumps up quite a bit from a percentage standpoint. Then again, down below, this just breaks down the numbers again. So anywhere between 67 to 69% of our calls are EMS calls, and that's so again, when we're looking at an operational model for the town, we certainly need to take that into consideration. And then from a projection standpoint, right now the 2024, as we saw, is 541 calls, and if we do an age projected calibrated projection, the number of calls would be projected to be around 449 in 2050, based off of that. And then so fire incidents look like they're going to remain stable at least over the next 4 years. EMS, you can see. I mean, we can't project 25 years from now what it could look like if it's going to be right around 540. But all things considered, what we're trying to do is do a data-based analysis around what the town may need from a service for the fire department and EMS going into the future. And once we determine that operational model that works for the town, then we can start to look at what what the next solution would be, whether it's a new station, upgrade a station, change the location based off of response times, change the location based off of mutual aid. If mutual aid continues to grow at a rate of pace it has grown over the last 4 years, there may be some considerations we need to take into place for that. And then as one of the other things we're trying to look at too is around tax impact mitigation strategy. So some of the things we're going to be looking at is a debt roll-off and timing strategy. So like some of the school debt may or may not be rolling off over the near future. It's projected to roll off over the next 2 years, but the school committee is looking at ways to how do they manage the maintenance of the school systems over the next few years based off of some studies that have taken place for the schools. So we don't know if we'll be able to leverage that or not. We'll be looking at grants and outside funding opportunities. We're working with one of the senators. We'll be talking to a couple other fire departments in the local area that have done similar studies and contractions to see how they leverage the opportunities the state and the federal have provided, and see if we can take advantage of some of those opportunities. We'll be looking at the ambulance fund review. So we've got an analysis again through the 2021-24 timeframes to see what the ambulance fund is bringing in for revenue and see where we're using that money today, and see if there's a way that we can allocate it differently, because it can only be used for EMS operations. And the other thing, just around long-term operating cost control, right? With any building, new or old, there's around operations cost to it. So we just need to look at that over the long term and take that in consideration, whatever the right solution is for the residents of the town. And then we'll also look at the budget overall, right? We want to look at whenever you're looking at a project like this, you can't be siloed. It has to be. You have to look at it from the whole aspect of what else is going on within the town. So, you know, we have schools, we have the libraries, we have all the town properties around here. So we need to look at everything in nature to see what we can do in order to minimize the impact to the residents of the town. And then just like, I know I went through that kind of quick, and there's a lot of information now. All this information will be shared on the town website. It will be under quick links. There's a new folder out there called Fire Station Project. We're not able to upload it right now because the Civic Plus is going through an upgrade, and that upgrade should take place on February 19th. So if we do anything now, then we're just going to have to move it again later. And right now, the Fire Station Project folder is in 2 places on the website. So I just need to talk to the IT person that's helping us out with the town website, and once that's all available, we'll upload it to the site for everyone to review. But just to highlight some of the key facts. So Plympton Fire and EMS is primary and EMS operation based off of the numbers. 67 to 69% of all responses are EMS related. Staffing is adjusted to match call demand, right? So the 24 hours, 365 days, 2 to 3 personnel, weekends 3 personnel. Impact shifts are used to higher call periods to supplement staffing and improve coverage. And emergency calls occur throughout the town, right? There's not any one geographically distributed area across Plympton that seems to, where there's a very high cluster of calls. And then mutual aid, as we said, is increasing quite a bit over the last few years, and is a part of the operation that we need to take into consideration for the right solution. Anything you'd like to add?
I think it's great.
So that being said, what we're looking at again is really looking at a data-dependent solution. Trying to understand the fire operation and the service that's currently being supplied today, and based off of all the facts that we've been able to gather with the help of Chief Doherty and other organizations, we're looking to move forward with trying to develop what the right solution is, again for the town. From there, we'd like to open it up to questions, comments, or either around any of the data or the fire station project in itself. Yes.
Andrew Norton, 59 Mayflower. How does the operational needs of the department affect the station?
Well, so I think if you go from 14% of mutual aid, 14% of all your calls coming in as mutual aid to 22.5%, I believe that impacts the way that the town is servicing the way the town is servicing your calls, right? You may need more personnel, maybe you need an extra ambulance, or maybe you need an extra support vehicle. One of the things we learned at the first meeting from Chief Duddy is that the town does bill, Plympton does bill the other towns for that mutual aid. But from an operational model perspective, I think there's things that the town can do from a strategic standpoint around the servicing of the calls for the residents.
What do you mean by that?
So I think there's different strategies that could be implemented around mutual aid. We could keep mutual aid the same, right? And we can say that we want to support mutual aid at 20%. Or we could say that we want to potentially grow mutual aid to 30%. And that may impact the number of people that need to be stationed at the facility in order to support the surrounding towns and or the local residents.
You also mentioned EMS funds, with the ambulance fund. How do you envision that plays into all of this?
Well, I think I don't envision how we know what the numbers are at this point over the last 4 years, and we know where some of the expenditures are for that. And I think that goes back to the operational model. If it stays the same and it brings in, I just lost this now, and it brings in the same amount of revenue each year, and it can only be used for EMS, then there could be potential uses that we could use that money for funding the EMS operation of potentially a new station or additional equipment that might be needed in order to support the mutual aid strategy, if you will.
I'm assuming you know this, because you seem like you guys are really doing your homework, which is great. But you know that if there was a 300,000 of the ambulance fund was used to offset our operating costs.
Yeah, so this is really about phase one and listening, and we've gathered some additional information just so that we have it, because we need to be able to prepare for the other phases. So I don't know all the numbers off the top of my head. I do from the ambulance fund, but that's one of the things we'll be reviewing as we go forward. You know, again, looking at the projection over the last 4 years, what has the revenue, how has the revenue increased? How has the expenditures increased from the revenue from that? And then we can determine potentially how do we implement the strategy around the use of those funds to support the station.
Also, I'm assuming that you're aware that the ambulance fund is used to purchase new ambulances.
Yes, well, again, I don't know all the nitty-gritty details, but from the research that we've done, the ambulance fund revenue can be used to support EMS operations.
That's what we used to buy our latest ambulance. I think we paid close to $300,000 for it.
Yeah, and we're not suggesting that we're going to take any of that away or use it for different areas. I think that's just something we want to look at to potentially reduce the potential impact to the town from a strategy perspective. We want to look at all areas that we can, right? We want to, the most important part of all this is we have the right operational model in place to support the town, right?
Who determines the operational model?
I think the operational model is how do we support the number of runs that we have, the response times that we have. Is there a way to improve our response times? From whether it's a location-based, whether it's a different model that might, maybe it's, I'm throwing it out there, maybe it's a work from, it's an on-call model, where you have a couple of people on call at a different part of where they reside in a different location in Plympton that could support mutual aid from another town. And then how do you support fires and accidents and things like that? So I think it's a model. What you're doing today is an operational model that you have in place to support the runs that you have. And so we need to look at that model. Is that model the right model for the future?
That's what I'm getting at, and I asked that, is who determines what the proper model is?
All of us.
All of
It's
us
not,
as far as the town goes.
yeah, all of us.
So you need to determine the operational model first before you determine what type of station we have?
Yes.
Okay. So how is that done? I'm a little bit confused.
Well, again, we gather all of the facts that we have, and we can try and project those numbers over the longer term.
Right.
And then we have to bring those different models to the table for the residents and your team to provide feedback on. And then we can come to the table, and hopefully we come to 2 or 3 different solutions, and we've come up with the right
As far as
solution.
an operational model goes?
Yeah.
And then so you're gonna bring 2 or 3 operational models to the table, present that to the town, and then what?
If we get to the point where we have where we can come up with a couple of models, we present that to the town. Then we can provide feedback. What are the pros and cons of each one of those models? And then we can determine if we could agree on what that model is, then we can look at the structure and components of the station that we need. So we might want to have an EMS operational model, right, versus a fire model, right? We're only looking at 11 to 14 fires a year, so we don't really need to be overstaffed with fire. We need to be look at an EMS model, so we have an EMS structured operation.
So who determines the makeup of those operational models? Are you going to outside experts to determine that?
Right now, we're working with the residents as well as the fire department in order to learn more about the operation, learn more about what the opportunities may be. We will be talking to other fire departments in the area, and then eventually, when we're at a place where we have some more concrete direction, then we'll be working with architecture and OPMs that have.
I'm asking how are you going to develop these operational models? You don't have the expertise to do that.
No.
No offense to you.
Yeah.
But
No.
who are you going to go to determine those operational models? Who are you going to that has that expertise to determine these models?
We can go to the residents for their feedback on what they feel would best support the town, and we would also go to the fire department. We can go to other fire departments to see what they would think about the model based off of our numbers. We can go to the OPMs and the OPMs that consistently build fire stations and work with other fire on the construction of buildings. We can look what they do, and they have some expertise around this. And then we come together and we figure out what the right solution might be.
So you got to go to other towns to determine what our operational needs are?
Well, no, we'd be talking to you guys too, obviously. Chiefs, we've tried to keep in communication with Chief Duddy, and we want to know how this is going to work for you guys, so.
We're not
obviously
excluding anyone. We're trying to gather the information with the help of the fire department to understand the operation and determine what the right solution would be. So it's every time, there's a certain level of expertise, And, right, and there are other stations and other communities that have gone through similar processes. And they've worked through similar processes that we've had in order to come up with the right solution for their area. We're trying to do exactly the same thing.
So if it's heavy on fire, it's heavy on the EMS side and it's light on fire, again, I'm confused as to how that impacts the size of the station.
You can create different models around it. So how many bays do you need? And maybe you structure the bays in a different way that supports an EMS-driven service where you can provide better response times.
So are you saying get rid of some fire trucks?
No. I'm not saying get rid of anything. We're looking at the data to determine what the right solution would be. And when you see mutual aid going up from 14% to 22%, we need to understand the reasons why, and we need to and then if that's going to continue to jump 10% every year, then we have to build that into our solution. If we think it's maxed out at its capacity, then we need to take that into consideration.
I think that has more to do with staffing than the trucks themselves.
I don't know again, we're only in phase one, listening around the facts that we've gathered and listening to what we need to get into that level of detail. Again, what is the reason for the jump in aid? Does other towns have staffing issues? They don't have that. They're getting more calls than they reasonably anticipate. Is their shift coverage different for whatever reasons, and that's why we're getting more calls? But I think we just need to analyze the information and determine what the right solution is. We have to look at what the data is telling us in order to determine what the best fit is. Do we need 2 bays? Do we need 4 bays? Do we need drive-through bays? Do we need back-in bays? Do we need a location that's going to support response times better? Do we have, what is the difference between the ALS calls and the BLS calls? Now, I think most of our calls, and correct me where I'm wrong, most of our calls have a firefighter/paramedic, which they're probably all classified as ALS calls versus BLS calls.
You need to sit down with the chief and go through this because that's not the way it works. ALS calls advanced life support.
Yep.
Yeah.
For a medic, BLS-based life support.
Yep.
Right now, we have the best of both worlds because most fire departments have 2 medics on a truck. We split it up to reduce costs.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's great. We've seen that by the numbers, right? A large percentage of the calls that Plympton has classified as ALS calls.
Right. That brings them home.
Yep. Yeah. So again, we're trying to look at the facts of the history, right? And when you look at the data tells a story. And then you can look at what the forecast is for the future in order to determine the direction that we need to go in order to support the residents of the town. We look at the population growth. We look at the demographics. And all of that information tells us a story. We can't project whether there's going to be 1040Bs next year, or we got to do something with the MBTA, or the plague's going to hit tomorrow. We can't project any of that. What we can do is use the information that we have today and look at it over a certain period of time to see how the growth or reduced growth has taken place, to determine what the next solution would be in order to support, again, the residents of the town. Make sure we have the support and the safety of the residents.
Yeah, Mike Lemieux, 158 Main Street. A couple of questions on what you presented. Do you know why in the mass data it shows our population going down? Just out of curiosity, do they say?
They didn't say, no.
It's a
And, I
study,
mean,
UMDI?
Yeah, UDMI, yeah.
UDMI.
But it's not based on anything?
Oh, no, it's based on, no,
Okay,
no.
that's good.
That's what the state looks at
Yeah.
as well. And actually, I went back and looked at the state backwards, and it's the same trajectory for, I did most of Plymouth County. Plympton stays just about the same from 2009 to 2024.
Yeah.
And then the UMass projection,
Yeah.
50 years out, it stays about the same.
Yeah,
And
we're
I
not
don't know if
exact-
that's just because of
Sorry.
land and what's
No, so when you look,
zoning, or-
I don't, we don't know. We could certainly go back and look at the information. But when you
Yeah,
look at,
just out of curiosity, when we're looking at population and
yeah,
potentially the 40B that gets built and such,
Yeah.
right.
I don't know how they would project us to go down, but it's just curious.
It's
No,
a good, it's a
it's-
good website to check out.
It's,
Yeah, it's very interesting.
all the towns except for Kingston,
Okay.
for whatever reasons, go down over the next 25 years. We don't know the formula they're using.
Yeah.
It's on
It
the
may be on the website.
It is.
What was it, what's the website?
UMDI.
If you look up UDMI
UDMI.
population projections on Google, it'll come right up. They have all the towns. I think we have all the towns here. You
And
can
they
see
have
here
all the-
population totals, county totals.
And they
So
list
they have
all of
all.
the studies that they use
Yeah.
to tabulate it all together. So, and this is just off of the MassGov website.
Got it. And then, I don't know if you guys have, I would assume you have, but have you gone through what the prior town properties committee had already researched on behalf of this, or are you just trying to start fresh?
So,
We're trying.
yeah, we're trying to get some of the information that the last town property committee has gone through. We don't have any information from them at this time.
Okay.
We're working with the organizations that were contracted with them to get some of the feasibility studies. One of the things I will say is I have looked at all of the 2000, well, can't say all because it's not all on the town website, but from August 2015 to December 31st, 2015, I have all of those meeting minutes, and there isn't any feasibility studies that are mentioned within those minutes. Doesn't mean it wasn't done. It just means the information is not available on the site. And the other thing I would also preference is I believe that those feasibility studies weren't done after 2015 because that's when the police station and some more of the other work was being done. So the feasibility studies would have been done prior to that. And
You're
I
referring to the location, the site feasibility studies?
no, the feasibility studies are around the reasons, why we needed a police station, why we needed a public safety building, why we needed a fire station. Back 2012, I believe, is when that originally started. But I wouldn't, from my personal perspective, I would not want to determine a solution for this town using data that's over 10 years old.
And then as far as, I don't know if you've gotten that far, but you said evaluating potential locations throughout town. Are there other potential locations that would be feasible, or do you not know yet?
We do not know yet, but we do have a couple of other locations that we're looking at. So one is Center and Palmer, and what's the road across from the horse farm?
Which one's? Oh, Maple.
Is that
Maple.
Maple, where Evan was, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Maple, the town loaned some land on Maple and Center.
Yeah.
Those are two locations that have popped up since we started our research. In addition to the existing fire station and the lot that was proposed before. One of the things we've heard from a lot of different residents is, why can't we upgrade the fire station? Right, so one of our options is we need to answer that concern for the residents. That's one of the, again, from the last proposal that didn't pass the station, one of the things we heard was around cost, price, size of the station, and that's why we wanted to take a look at the data that we have now, in addition to some of the other information we could obtain from the last Town Properties Committee, and come back and alleviate some of those concerns that the residents had with the last proposal.
So that's actually my next question. And I'm sure you guys are full well aware, it's always nice to see new blood joining committees, because it usually ends up becoming the same characters all the time. Do you have any new thoughts as far as outreach or anything goes? Because it does tend to, unfortunately, be, the same cast of characters all the time, and a lot of people might get an idea in their head and only see that on social media or something and not show up to the meetings or anything. Do you have any new ideas of how to engage the people that don't always show up?
Yeah, so we did produce a couple of documents that are actually on the town website now, community update, how we're going to communicate with the town. Obviously one of these is meetings, bulletin boards, so we have a place up there now for our bulletin boards, any information we want to publish up there. We do have the fire station project folder now on the town website, so one of the issues we heard was it's hard to find information on the town website. We couldn't put it on the direct homepage like some of the residents wanted, because you have to get Civic Plus to do that, and they have to pay them to do that. So we're able to do under quick links. It's not going to be as easy to find in the new website as it is today, in my opinion. I had a preview of the new website, and it's not in the upper right-hand corner now. It's in the bottom where quick links is going to be. But it's just a learning curve we're all going to get used to. And then we will post on social media, but it won't be posting any minutes or discussions or comments or anything like that. It'll be like these documents will all be posted online. When we do it, we will publish to Facebook, the Helping Plympton community page. We provided an update on the fire station project, provide the link to go get it. And then Keeland also has our own Facebook page around This is Plympton. It will also be posted on there.
So although I'm new to the board, like my first official meeting was September 3rd, 2025, I've been attending the Town Property Committee meetings since the summer of 2024, when I decided that my time would be well spent sitting at the Board of Selectmen meetings and the Town Property Committee meetings, just to try and get informed. So I think it was after the town meeting, on the 28th of May, was the next TPC meeting, when they asked me if I would join the committee. And we didn't have another meeting until September 3rd. And that was probably a long, hard summer for them because they had done so much work. So within 4 days of that meeting, they all resigned. So we got it together. I think the beginning of November was our first meeting, and we're digging deep to try and get as much done as fast as we can, because we know this needs to get done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What do you anticipate your timeline is as far as getting the data, reviewing the data, putting together what you believe is operational needs, locations, looking at the old station, can that be rehabbed? There's a lot of moving pieces there.
Yeah, so again, we don't have a timeline at this point. Again, we're just in the gathering of information and kind of getting comments from residents and everyone. So as we move forward into phase 2, we'll probably be able to put together more of a, I won't say a concrete timeline, but an estimated timeline. The one thing we do want to make sure of is we're getting the information correct. We're interpreting it in the right way, and we're taking in questions and comments and concerns from everyone in order to come up with the right solution. But we couldn't forecast a time frame around. We're not going to be the May meeting. That isn't happening. And so we don't really want to rush into it either. Fully understanding, before we come into any solution, we want to make sure we have the facts right. We want to make sure we look at a few solutions that make sense, And then we want to make sure we get the feedback from everyone on what they feel is the right solution. So when we do come up with that final solution, it goes to meeting for vote, that it passes. And that's the ultimate goal. Any other questions, comments? Anything additional? No?
I don't think so. When's our next meeting?
Oh, so, well,
We
we
try and
haven't,
keep that updated. so
we
in
had the
case
2
people wanna
meetings.
come.
We can have a third one if we need for phase 1. For phase 2, we don't have any projected timeframes for a phase 2 meeting. And I'm not sure what format it will be at this point in time. I don't know if we'll have the same format or we'll have more meetings, regular meetings, and then just try to do that. Or the one thing I think we've thought about is one of the recommendations, well, why don't you do it at the library on a weekend? Well, this weekend we did it here. And one of the reasons we chose that is because we do want the video. We're trying. There's a lot of people in town that are posting these meetings now, which I think is a good thing. So although we may not have people present, we're hoping that we have a lot of people at least looking at the videos or watching the videos, and they may not have time to look at an hour-long video, but all they really have to do is go and hit transcribe, and they can copy and paste it and put it into a Word document, and they'll have everything. And so, or if they know how to use AI, they can just post it into AI and create their own meeting minutes. So we don't know at this point when phase 2 will be, but there's some additional information that we need to gather, and then the 3 of us will work together to figure out what the right solution would be. If the town residents would like to have this format and have 3 or 4 separate meetings strictly on the fire station, happy to do it. But we just need time to put this stuff together. It's a lot of information that we're gathering, and a lot of people that we're speaking to, and a lot of feedback that we're getting back in order to try and alleviate the concerns, but also educate everyone, right? You're the experts on the fire station and the operations, right? But we need to educate everybody on what the number of runs are, what the model looks like from a dispatch out of Duxbury, and what the impact shifts are, and how that works into the model, what the mutual aid calls are, and how that works into the model. Some of the other things I can think we'll be requesting is through dispatch or through your department is how many times is an engine out at the same time. During the 808 calls in 2024, what was the breakdown of time shifts? Maybe not by hour, but maybe by quarter hour, 4 hours at a time, something like that. So we can take a deeper dive into the data to understand some of that stuff. If there's no other questions, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Yep. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.